I've been walking around with 0 bitches.
And when women lose sexual leverage, guess what? They have no power.
If I was Joe Schmo, I'd be scared. You're out here, they're lying to you about the inflation rate.
Eating a burger with no honey mustard.
Women only date up. I've said
People
That's
are not
the only thing
panicking.
that they
They
use
lack
to
personal
manipulate
capacity.
men.
Gerby.
Fucking. Boy, do I do a lot of it. Let's just keep it G real. There ain't many folks out here putting it down like Gerby. I'm the Michael Jackson of fucking. They say for every grain of sand in the Sahara Desert, that's 10 women that I've slept with. And that's not even me saying that. That's them. The liberal media. Let's just get one thing straight. I'm the cooter champion. I can't even go to Whole Foods without some hot girl who's over 18 pestering me for my dong. If there was some sort of a competition for fucking, I would win. Let's say, hypothetically, there's a universe where every time I have sexual intercourse with a hot woman, a flower grows. In this universe, there would be a lot of flowers. And I'm not talking about any streetwalkers or, average Janes. I'm fucking the A1, top-notch primo box. The cream of the crop, the stuff of legend, the mythical cooter. And it's also important to mention, not only do I get around, but I'm also very good at what I do. I'm the grand master of fucking. Not only do I fuck like a wild raccoon, but also through years of nofap and mastering tantric methods, I'm able to control the nut flow throughout my body like some sort of airbender. And this means I could fuck for 9 hours without, I don't even feel anything anymore. I don't have to nut. I just do it as an act of solidarity. I just dispense a little dollop of seed on their nose like boop, just to claim my territory, just to mark a job well done, a stamp of approval. And this complete control over my nut allows me to bang as many women per day as I want, usually between 15 and 20. I fuck with honor and integrity. My boner remains hard and true. Through even the most perilous conditions, it is stalwart. And I'm not saying any of this to brag or gas myself up because I'm insecure. I just think it's important to establish your credibility on a subject before you talk about it. I have a PhD in fucking. Also, I know you're very lonely, so I have an online course that will teach you to be just like me.
But I'm a creep. I'm a weirdo.
According to the General Social Survey, male virginity has been on the rise, shooting from just 8% in 2008 to 27% in 2018. A 20% increase in 10 years is crazy, and 27% is a very high number. But there are a few important things to note about this graph. The first thing is that it ends in 2018, 4 years ago. Now, this might not seem like a very long time, but given what has transpired in these 4 years, I would say there are big differences between 2018 and 2022. 2018 was obviously before the Modelo infection. It was before TikTok was even a thing. This is truly a bygone era we're talking about here. If you look at where the graph spiked around the turn of the century, you could infer about some things that might have led to it around this time frame. Let's just say the rate of growth was consistent. If we would extend the graph to 2022, the number would be around 38%. But given significant events that have transpired over these 4 years, I have reason to believe that it spiked even more. Also, if you factor in the response bias that is intrinsic in every study that's a survey, dudes be lying. Dudes be saying they fuck way more than they do. Not me. I really am about it. The societal expectation on men is, you gotta get bitches. And people will act like, no, it's totally fine to be a male virgin, but we all know what it is. It's definitely, it's embarrassing. Also, this graph is about young men. It doesn't factor in all of the guys over 30 who are in divorces or sexless marriages who are effectively facing the same problem. They're just from a different generation. It could be that if you just find a random guy on the street, it's a coin flip now to whether or not he's getting any action. Heads or tails, to see if he's getting any head or any tail. And when you think about it, that's pretty wild. So it's very clear why there is a manosphere. And this is data collected from all around America. It would make sense if it was just in my area, because me and my conglomerate of Sigma males have effectively monopolized all of the cooter within a 200-mile radius. It's safe to say that at least 40% of men are involuntarily celibate. And I can find graphs that are actually more extreme than this, okay? This is just the most popular one. Unless you want to try to argue that these guys have zero bitches because they don't want to have any bitches, then 40% of men are incels. At least. I would say 50. I would say it's half and half, on God. Now the truth is, young men are clearly struggling. Not only with dating, but with life in general. They lack community, independence, brothers, father figures, and mentors. In recent years, all of these things are becoming digitized. Beneath all the jokes, I am one of these young men in need of guidance. I know there's a problem. The question is, are these figures in the manosphere a positive influence? Or are they using this alpha male persona to profit off of young, often lonely men? Are they good role models, or are they just radicalizing white boys on the net? The manosphere is just a general term for dudes talking to dudes on the internet, but it's anti-feminist. It doesn't really have a defined start date. The man who's considered to be the grandfather of the red pill is a guy named Rollo Tomasi, who wrote a book called The Rational Male, talking about intersexual dynamics. It sort of opposes this idea of toxic masculinity and advocates for men to be naturally masculine, more assertive, dominant, and competitive. And it says that women like that sort of thing. Another book that's important to this whole space is The Game by Neil Strauss. It's the foundation for all this pickup artist stuff. But you could say the manosphere has been around for a lot longer than that. The comedian Patrice O'Neal was talking about a lot of the same themes in the early 2000s on radio shows like Opie and Anthony, and you could say these radio shows were like the early version of these manosphere podcasts we have today. Same thing with Tom Leykis.
I generally don't like what women are.
Which is what?
As I generally don't like living in a world where being what a man is a horrible thing, and no matter what a woman is, it's a wonderful thing. This is what they're doing. They are the society. They're bringing men down.
All of this was before it was called the red pill, obviously in reference to the Matrix. Taking the red pill is awakening to a harsh reality and refusing to be deluded. The red pill has evolved to be a much bigger thing, not just about women, but that's how it started, and that's how I'm going to approach it, because I think that's how these ideas get popular, is guys need help with women. That's the foundation of it. The red pill used to be a fringe group on the internet. It grew on sites like Reddit, but even then it was still just limited to a blog. It wasn't a very big thing, but it has continued to get bigger and bigger to the point where it's mainstream at this time. There are very large figures in the manosphere. Fresh and Fit. There's a growing niche of self-improvement. Jordan Peterson is considered to be part of the manosphere, but all of this stuff really blew up recently with one man.
14 supercars, 5 mansions. I'll tell you why. When I wake up in the morning, 4 a.m., I get up to piss. Bitch over here, I say move, bitch. Go take a piss. I have the mindset to conquer. I look at life like a chessboard. My father was a chess grandmaster. I'm biracial. I look at life like a chessboard. In every move, I strategically plan to conquer. I'm the king, and you're a pawn, a peasant, brokey, wagey, peon. Oh, it's misogynist, toxic masculinity. You're a beta. I'm 4-time kickboxing world champion. Pull up in the Bugatti Chiron. Sparkling water only. You're scared of bubbles. pussy.
But more on that later. At this point in time, there are so many different pills and ways to define them. It's all so goofy, all of these internet terms. But I'll just formulate them in a way that I feel like is most intuitive or easy to understand. So we have a spectrum. At one pole, you have the blue pill. At the other pole, you have the black pill. Nobody really claims the blue pill. It's just sort of a name for people who are unaware of what's going on or who are in denial of what's going on. They deny that there is a problem with men or with society in the first place. Everything's going good. Then going down a little bit, you have people that acknowledge there is a problem, understand what's going on, but they favor explanations or solutions to this problem that are still counter to the red pill. It's important to mention that the red pill is largely a very right-wing ideology. At least according to the way politics have organized themselves right now, if you ask somebody if they're red pilled and they say yes, there's pretty much no shot they're going to be culturally liberal. Next up, we have the red pill, which is so massive and hard to define, but I'll just do it anyways. It's the acknowledgement of all these problems, but also the belief that you can fix them. And it advocates for things like embracing your masculinity. People in the red pill believe modern men are not masculine and modern women are way too masculine. I'm still looking at it through the lens of gender dynamics because that's how it started, but the red pill has ascended that. Anyways, let's go down to the black pill. The black pill hasn't really gotten as large as the red pill, and it's still limited to topics of dating, pretty much, for the most part. The black pill also acknowledges all these problems, whatever, but it is the mindset that it's pretty much over for a lot of men who are average or below average. It's this heavy focus on genetic determinism and the way you look having the biggest impact on your dating life, and it also extends to your life in general. The red pill and the black pill both agree on this idea of hypergamy, which is pretty much where women date up. They want the top 20% of men pretty much exclusively because they face the burdens of reproduction, so they're more selective. But one of the biggest differences is that people who subscribe to the red pill would say that any man could get to the top 20% if they put in enough effort, enough work into themselves. While the black pill would say it's not possible for everyone, it's a largely genetic distinction. Now, it's obvious that by definition, not every man could get into the top 20% technically, but I think the red pill says there's so little competition and so little people who will genuinely work hard for a long amount of time that allows you to get into this top 20%. So that brings the question, which pill is right? And I don't know. I'm actually ashamed I know what any of this is. But in my opinion, nobody on the internet is going to be able to accurately prescribe why you're unable to get bitches. That's going to take some introspection on your part. Okay? It could be for so many reasons, intrinsic or extrinsic, in your control, out of your control. It's probably a combination of all sorts of things. The way the black pill focuses on looks and the belief that looks are very important is low-key what a lot of people intrinsically think anyway. When you see a hot person and an ugly person together, you're kind of like, wait, this doesn't add up. What's going on here? And it makes sense, you know? Studies show that people judge each other within 1/10 of a second. When you see somebody, you have judged them within 1/10 of a second. Like that. And the whole idea that beauty is subjective has been scientifically proven to be false. Beauty is not subjective, it's hardwired into our brains. It's lightly subjective. It's like, do you prefer the tall blonde guy with broad shoulders, a symmetrical face, a nice jawline, and nice eyes? Or do you prefer the tall, light-skinned guy with curly hair who has the broad jaw, broad shoulders, nice jawline? Like, it's all the same shit. It's just like little tiny differences in type, hair color, sense of style, shit like that. The genetic, what we find genetically attractive stays the same. But anyways, most people inside, how they feel, they know how important looks and genetics are. It's just that when guys start to vocalize how frustrated they are, or start acting like a victim or saying they give up, that's when everybody gets mad at them.
Like suddenly it's not a problem and genetics don't matter anymore. All these guys just need to take showers and drink more water and then bitches will appear. I think it's a bit of a double standard considering a lot of other things that we take seriously. Oh, now all of a sudden, now all of a sudden looks don't matter. All of a sudden dating, which is literally about discriminating between people, is completely fair and everyone can make it. But you know, it's not true. There have always been incels. Not all men are able to reproduce. There always will be incels. It's a biological fact. All of a sudden, everything's fair and people aren't born with completely different opportunities in life based off factors out of their control. And then again, I know where all of it comes from. It's because dudes go and shoot up places and then they claim incel. So it gets kind of hard to defend them. And there are some times, like the last tragedy in the UK, where the whole incel thing is really shoehorned in. Like the guy who did that wasn't even an incel. But there definitely are some, like, there are some times where that was the whole thing, was the guy was an incel. And he did it because he couldn't get bit. But here's the thing. It would make sense if a lot of school shooters are incels, but that doesn't mean a lot of incels are school shooters. Because again, 40% of men are incels. And 40% of men can't be school shooters. At that point, you wouldn't even be able to go outside. I would have to keep all my hoes and bitches inside. Actually, I do that anyways. Stay in the kitchen, you know what I'm saying? But I'll say it, I don't think these guys are necessarily entitled for being frustrated and lonely. There's this whole thing about looks or personality, but the thing is, looks and personality are inseparable in many ways. Firstly, we attribute positive qualities to people who are attractive. It's called the halo effect, or it's a specific manifestation of the halo effect. I know in my personal experience, I was a very late bloomer. I used to be short and ugly. But the thing is, back when I was short and ugly, I was also awkward and shy and sort of weird. So it's hard for me to isolate those variables. But what I realized, looking back in my experience, is that once I hit puberty and hit a little bit of a glow up, right, I suddenly became much less weird and more outgoing and talkative and somewhat more charismatic to people. And it made me think, it didn't just, my temperament didn't just fucking change out of nowhere. What changed is the way people received me. There's also a psychological term called the Pygmalion effect, where people's perception of you influences how you behave, right? Your perception of yourself. So you get different body language cues. You have no idea how important a warm smile is. Receiving a warm smile is to opening you up and making you more confident. Right? And before I didn't get that.
I just wanted to elaborate on this point a little bit more, go into more detail. Over quarantine is when I went from a goblin to being somewhat fuckable, right? And over quarantine, I obviously didn't have much social contact. So quarantine sort of ended and I looked different. And I went outside, I was at school, and I remember a girl looked at me, she had open body language, and she smiled. And it was so frictionless, so effortless, just sort of reflexive. I just said hi. Like, I just started a conversation so easily. And before that was before I was so in my head about these things, but when I received that cue, it was just instant. I didn't have to try at all. But at the time I didn't even realize it, but after class when I was driving home, I was like, oh shit, that's the first time that happened to me. I get it now. I get how all this happens. Like, how do you develop game? You have experience in the first place. How do you have experience, from a young kid? Is you get positive signals. There's something to it. And you can always cherry pick examples that go against this, but here's the real thing. Here's the real black pill. I think getting laid in itself isn't that hard. There are a lot of girls now who they just give it away. They're just having fun. They're hoes. They don't give a fuck, and that's cool. Whatever. I'm not here to judge. Some of them are at the point where they're not really picky anymore about who they give it up to. If you're at the right place in the right time, you can get some even if you're ugly. The real black pill is about keeping and maintaining relationships. In these relationships where there's an ugly guy and a hot girl, the girl has all the power. because she knows the guy has no other options. So it's honestly like, it's not even advantageous for him at this point. He's getting walked all over. And I don't mean she's just not giving him affection, like that's the only thing women are good for. No, she's not nice to him. She doesn't do anything for him. She adds nothing to his life. She doesn't support him emotionally, and he's over here paying for her, buying her gifts, doing all this shit, but she gives none of it back. Maybe every once in a while, a little hand job. Bro, you think that disproves the black pill, seeing an ugly guy with a hot girl? No, that's proof. That's further proof. If you think about it, if you look deep under the surface, not just, oh, ugly guy, hot girl. Bro, do you see the dynamics of the relationship? It's abusive. It's an abusive relationship because she's insecure, so she doesn't want to find someone she's actually attracted to. She wants to cling on to somebody who is desperate for her and abuse them. Real shit. Here's what my claim is. You have to be physically attractive to your partner to keep a relationship. The attraction has to stay there. And yes, I know looks fade and all of that. That's something that all these people say when they try to cope out of admitting their very basic human nature. Oh, looks fade. That's why I don't care about looks. Bro, get the fuck out of Dodge. Have you ever thought about why looks matter? It's because they're an indication of good genetics. And genetics matter because you pass those bitches down to your offspring. Because as we've already established, genetics clearly matter when it comes to how you do in the world. And you want your kid to do good, don't you? So you want your kid to have good genetics. Even if you don't want to have kids, you're still driven by that. That's what your conception of looks is about. And you don't have kids when you're elderly and your looks have faded. And then by that time, if your relationship has lasted that long, you're pretty dependent on each other. Not in a bad way. It can be a beautiful thing. You're two peas in a pod. You live together. You love each other. If you're over 6 foot and you're attractive and you've always pretty much been that way, I don't really want to hear your input about this shit, by the way, because you live in a different reality, okay? The only reason I care about this is because I've seen sort of both sides, right?
And I'm certain people who tell these guys to just do this and that are those who lack perspective because they think you can just summon up confidence out of fucking nowhere. Yeah, genetics are a very big part of dating. And if anybody denies this, I don't even know what to say to you. And ugly guys have it rough now, especially with the rise of online dating. There's also the data showing the growth of online dating, how more and more people are meeting through online dating. And all the same things can be applied to this chart. This one stopped in 2017, and this is a problem because online dating is very clearly only about looks. But it's also important to mention some of the other things that scored up top, bars and nightclubs, are just as shallow as online dating. What used to place high, met through friends, that's the ideal way to do it. Through a social circle, you meet somebody. That's kind of the most natural way to find a relationship, but it's gone down the shitter.
If you look at any of these incel documentaries, it will always just be white dudes who, they're not even that ugly.
He's gonna get his dick out. That's what he does. Gets his dick out, shits his pants. He's shitting his pants. Jesus fucking Christ, dude. This is what happens.
Wow.
But they're the incels that are on these documentaries, and people in the comments will be like, oh my gosh, they have such a bad attitude, they're not even bad looking, what's going on? And it's kind of weird how nobody seems to connect the dots that these guys are clearly not neurotypical.
I don't have a job, I am ugly, so my value right now is 0.
Have you approached many women?
Oh, many.
And what was the result?
Rejection 100% of the time. I would start talking to a girl, and immediately she would give me fuck off signals. She would, pull out her cell phone, just start texting her friends, and just hope I would go away. I don't approach that much anymore because, I've had over 1,000 rejections in real life, 2,000 rejections online, so that's 3,000 rejections total.
Did you count in real life?
I'm approximating, that's not a real word, we're redoing that. Ask a question again. I aim as low as possible. I aim for obese women, ugly women, ideally ugly and obese.
Like, this guy genetically isn't very ugly. He's not short, he has the nice eyebrows, the blue eyes. If he worked out, got a haircut, did all that, his looks would be at the level. But he's He's retarded. His brain thinks differently. Do you think that's his fault? Do you think he elected to be that way? And whether or not they're diagnosed with some sort of autism, you could clearly see how these guys are just on a social wavelength. And then think about how that sort of isolated from their peers when they were younger and led to a negative feedback loop, and now they're where they are. It's not about their looks, but is it not equally genetic or outside of their control? And the data shows that autistic men have a really, really hard time in dating. Autistic women don't really. I mean, have you seen Love on the Spectrum? All the autistic guys are like, this is my first date. I've never had a girlfriend before. And all the autistic girls are like swiping left on Tinder.
What was the worst date you've been on?
I have to be honest, I'm not gonna lie, I've never actually been on a date before.
I've been on dates many times.
Like,
I think one of the worstest dates I've ever had was, he only eats nothing but chicken and beans.
These autistic girls are kind of cute. I'm not gonna lie, like I'm downs to fuck. I'll eat her ass like a burger anyways. But with these guys, it's a completely different ball game. You can't be socially weird as a man. People won't treat you nice because you don't have a vagina. People won't act like they care. If a girl's like socially weird, it's kind of cute. Dudes like that shit. And there's this whole thing to portray incels as whites. And yeah, I mean, a lot of them are, but that's just because there's a lot of white people on the internet. When you put it next to other internet groups, it's actually pretty diverse, and this is because white men have an advantage when it comes to dating. Statistically speaking, Asian men have it the hardest. And I mean, we have K-pop and stuff, thank God for K-pop. It's a bit of a saving grace. If you're Asian, you gotta lean into that shit. Even if you're Indian, still give it a whirl. All of this stuff matters, but there are always exceptions, and it makes it kind of hard to prove that any of these things are objectively the truth, because it's not like they're scientific laws. Which brings me to my next point. One of the biggest critiques of the Manosphere and the red pill is that people generalize too much within this space. They make broad generalizations about men and women, and that's not good because, you know, not everybody falls into those categories that they paint, right? A lot of conversations or debates between these two sides goes like the red pill guy says something, and then they'll be like, not everybody's like this, what about this?
Now you're talking about a UFC fighting girl. Maybe if you're one of the most highly trained UFC fighting females, maybe 4 names you can name on the planet, maybe there are some men your own size you might be able to hit and beat. But you're talking about a complete anomaly. That doesn't disprove the rule.
And they'll be like, exceptions don't disprove the rule, and they pretty much get nowhere. But I think it makes sense to be cognizant of where these red pill guys draw their generalizations from. It's very based on evolutionary psychology, and that's one of the more controversial fields of science. Most people can agree that we have evolved from ape. There's a lot of evidence backing that, but the conclusions that you can draw from that, that's where it gets sort of nebulous. These Manosphere guys will refer to biology, anthropology, and evolutionary psychology very frequently to back their claims. So they draw these generalizations from what could be considered a biological standard.
No, I know it's not about me having that experience. I'm telling you now as a biological fact. Men do not panic as easily as women.
Just like how a nature documentary can make broad generalizations about species of animals, right? Humans are very much equated to animals in this way, and I'm not saying that's a bad or good idea. There's some good evidence, you know, supporting that. We're still very much driven by the way we've evolved. But I think the idea of rules and exceptions to rules doesn't really explain what's really going on here. We're talking about a biological standard, and any deviation from this when it comes to gender dynamics is because of some outside conflating factor that somehow overrides this, which won't happen very often. And this can get into a very deep conversation about how humans are animals, or if humans are animals. You could go read on evolutionary psychology if you want to, or read the Bible, or do whatever the fuck you want to do. I'm moving on. But let's look at one of these guys who are considered to be in the Manosphere, who have gained a lot of notoriety, and see what's going on, see if they're a bad influence or not. I'm talking about Andrew Tate. I don't know who else I would be talking about. He's the most popular one. That's the one I'm going to talk about. With Andrew Tate, it's weird because it's hard to distinguish between what ideas of his are genuine assertions. I refuse to believe he really gives a fuck if guys like sparkling water or not, and I refuse to believe he uses that as a genuine judge of value or character. And then he says things like he can cheat on his girl and his girl can't cheat on him, and if his girl has an OnlyFans, he takes all the money. But the thing is, he says this is just how his relationships work. The women he dates understand this. He doesn't have to beg or ask them. So it's kind of hard for anybody to criticize how he does his relationships. But where it gets murky is if he's prescribing all these young dudes to think this way about women like him when they're not a 4-time kickboxing world champion, and they're going to go outside, these fucking weirdos, and they're gonna go on a date talking about I can cheat on you because I'm a man and every man since the dawn of time had more than one wife, when they don't have the credentials. But the rest of Andrew Tate's takes are sort of involved in certain theories, libertarian / conservative, and they're anti-feminist. Andrew Tate had allegations of human trafficking, and most people on the opposite side of the political spectrum who criticize him bring this up a lot. He's a human trafficker. He's a human trafficker.
Cobra, the human traffickers.
He denies these allegations and provides a story that I find satisfactory. I think it makes a lot of sense. The Tate brothers said they'd get the CCTV footage soon and that they'd release it, and I'd bet money that it will exonerate them and that it will prove that nothing happened. The girl lied and they're innocent. And in the event that this does happen, it's going to make a lot of these people who continually and repeatedly kept on calling him a human trafficker like it's some sort of argument, it's going to make them look pretty goofy. If you actually go in and read the article, journalism has fallen so far, dude. There's no proof of anything. All the shit's so goofy. I'd say it doesn't do a lot to paint their arguments in a good light when they just went online and saw an article that said he's a sex trafficker and accepted it at face value and kept on repeating it to fucking prove their point. But anyways, we could bicker about politics and theories and all this shit. It's possible that he is a sex trafficker and he's just rich and powerful. It's very easy for him to hide it, and he paid off the police because the police forgave him. Whatever, all that shit could be true. You never really know. I'm just guessing. What I figured a good way to test whether or not this man is a fraud is to purchase Hustlers University for 1 month and see if it works. And if he gets me, if he famooses me out of $50, fine. Take my 50, Tate. Do whatever the fuck you're gonna do. Save up for another supercar. But in the event that Hustlers University has a lot of good and valuable information in it and it's a genuine thing, then I feel like it will provide a lot of credibility to him as a character. I'm pretty sure this might be the only genuine review of Hustlers University, because all these other Hustlers University reviews are dudes who have the affiliate link. They're in the affiliate campus in Hustlers University, and then they make a video reviewing it with a link in the description, so it's obviously very biased. There is no such link in the description here, although I could do it. I'm not going to, because this is going to be G-real. So I joined Hustlers University. I forked over the $50. Upon entering, you're asked some questions about how much time and money you have. And given this information, you will be directed to different campuses within Hustlers University. The 18 different modern wealth creation methods, as Tate says. I wasn't directed to it given what I answered, but the affiliate marketing campus was one of the 18. It's in this campus where Tate used people that signed up to his program to make TikToks of him in different podcasts and videos, put them all over TikTok with the affiliate link, and that's how he gained so much popularity in such short time. He flooded the TikTok algorithm, and on TikTok it's way easier to blow up than on YouTube or any other platform. He flooded that bitch with his face, and people say that this whole affiliate marketing thing is a pyramid scheme, an MLM. It's like Herbalife. He gets people to sign up, they do this shit, it gets more people to sign up, and it just keeps on going. Every large company uses affiliate marketing. Amazon, PayPal, they all do that shit. Affiliate marketing is one of the largest ways to grow a business on the internet. You can't really call it a pyramid scheme. You can only say that if there's not really a product there, and there is a product here. It's Hustlers University, and if Hustlers University ends up being a scam, which I'm about to tell you about, then I guess you could say it's an MLM. Hustlers University directed me to campuses involving stocks and cryptocurrency. I went in with an open mind. I learned all the information. There was a bunch of videos, a bunch of shit to read. It wasn't like I was just given money. I did research, I took notes, I learned a lot about investing. I've tried investing multiple times in the past and it's never been really successful. At worst case, I lost a little bit of money even though I didn't invest that much. I was just fucking around. I really didn't have the income to be investing. That's one thing I learned. But this time, through paying attention to the information, following the signals, you could take quizzes to unlock more advanced signals and go deeper. I was actually able to be successful investing. I can approve of the information on the investing side of Hustlers University. Now, I don't know about the ways of generating income in HU. Those might not be successful at all. But yeah, is the red pill real? Are these Manosphere guys good examples? I don't know. I should probably just get outside and get some bitches.
Most girls hate Andrew Tate is because he's bringing back the strong masculinity.